It should, yeah.
Yeah, so those will be.
Okay, I think we are ready. Sorry for our few-minute delay. Welcome to the Thursday, October 16th meeting of the Public Art Commission. We are once again in the council chambers, which is kind of unusual for us. We're back in the conference room more often than not, so we're admiring the new carpet and upholstery and I think lighting, maybe. Anyway, it's all looking good. So first order of business will be the roll call. So I have Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
Commissioner Ross.
Present.
Commissioner Silverstein. Present. And Vice Chair Miyagi.
Present.
Also present, Chair Kathleen Kavanaugh. And we have with us Councilmember Karen Holman. Thank you for coming. And Elise DeMarzo, city staff, who is now officially 100% time with us, which is very exciting. Congratulations. And then Nadia Chaprina, our public art program assistant, and plenty of people in the audience tonight. So thank you very much for joining. Let's see, we have, the next item would be any changes or requests or deletions to our agenda, which we don't have any. I wasn't made aware of any. I'm not seeing any. Okay, so we're good. And then just a quick reminder to anyone in the audience, if you did want to speak to any of the items, you would need to fill out a public oral communication card and then hand that to Nadia Chaprina, please. So let's see, I'm just trying to think about whether or not we're going to do any. I think we'll just proceed with the minutes from the last meetings. We actually had a special meeting, which was on Monday, September 22nd, and that was a very specific one with the city attorney Molly Stump to address some of the % for art and private development topic questions that continue to come up. So we had that. The notes are pretty general, so there were no changes I had unless anyone else had any changes. Okay, any motion for approving those, please, from someone who was there? So I guess that would be one of the three of us.
I move to approve the minutes from the meeting on September 22nd.
I second.
Thank you. And all in favor who were there?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
And abstain, thank you. All right, so that's for the minutes from September 22nd, and then reverse order, the minutes from our last Public Art Commission meeting, September 18th, which was in the council conference room. Were there any changes to those minutes from anyone?
I wasn't there.
That's right, you weren't there. But I didn't have any. Just looking to see if anybody, as they check their notes, we always have lots of paper to check. I'm not seeing any nods. So is there a commissioner who would like to motion to approve those minutes as they are for September 18th?
I'll motion to approve the minutes for September 18th.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. And second? I will second. So all in favor of approving the minutes from our September 18th meeting? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, several people were not there. So in fact, I don't think we have enough to approve because I was trying to think, so Amanda, Ben, and Dara were not here. So we all have to take this back to the next meeting because we didn't have enough people who were here. So it would have been Jim, myself, Nia, and Vicky. So we'll have to bring those back to the next time. Okay?
Point of order, I believe on a special meeting.
That wasn't,
okay.
that wasn't
so,
a
yeah,
special.
just for the regular meeting.
Yeah, because I did them out of order. I sort of went reverse order. Okay, and let's see, moving on, we would do our financial reporting next. So Elise.
Okay, great, thank you. So the financial reporting will be pretty simple because there are very few changes. The CIP, there are no changes from the previous month. The municipal budget, which is printed on the back of the CIP, there's a payment that went to Tony DeScenza for the recent installation in the amount of $2,480. And on the maintenance budget, there is one new item that moved up, which is the epoxy for the identification plaques in the amount of $37.35. And those are the changes to the budget since the last month. Are there any questions from the commission?
I don't have any questions. I was wondering whether, it occurred to me as I was looking at the municipal budget and some of the notes that potentially there might be some conversation we would want to have at some point around the municipal budget and the pooling of the funds and some of your ideas around what and how we might do that. And
Right.
I thought maybe that's, I don't know that that would fit into tonight's agenda at all, but maybe in a future meeting.
So perhaps in our agenda setting meeting with the chair and the vice chair and staff, we can discuss that as a possible agenda item for the next meeting.
Yeah, just because I know that there has been some smaller items and for municipal projects, and so that's in aggregate now at about $30,000. So it might be something to consider.
So I'll make a note of it for us to discuss.
Okay, thank you. And then, did anyone have any questions or comments on the budget? Okay. We will have some updates on a couple of these items later in the meeting, so I think we'll end up covering some of that. Okay, so moving on, we have our staff report from Elise DeMarzo.
So the first item, the sculptures in the Recanata Library and the Art Center by Joe O'Connell and Blessing Hancock are anticipated to begin lighting at night at the end of this month. So you may recall they were installed in July. The 6 sculptures in different shapes are wrapped in text that were sourced from the community that have to do with different types of growth. The sculptures are anticipated to start lighting up shortly after the construction fence comes down, which should be in the next couple of weeks. And each of the sculptures has a button on it so that members of the public can go up and change the colors of the sculpture, of the LED lights within the sculptures. So we're very much looking forward to that. And of course, we'll put out an e-news blast when they are ready to go live, so all of you can go see them. The second item is artist Anthony DeScenza's installation, Questions About Your City, was completed week before last. And here you have a shot of one of the pieces installed. It's a series of 20 signs with questions about your city that were sourced or based on English as a second language texts. So they're meant to be very neutral in tone and really stimulate conversations about life in Palo Alto, but also they would relate to people who are visiting Palo Alto. The artist gave a presentation regarding his public work last night at the downtown library, followed by a brief walking tour of a portion of the installation. So here you see we ended right here in King Plaza, where there's the 2 of the signs there. The map of the full installation and a copy of the text is available on the Public Art website, and there are maps available in the lobby of City Hall as well. And the third item is the site work surrounding Nathan Oliveira's Universal Woman at the Art Center was completed in September, complete with a new light. There you can see the light in front of her. The identification signage will be installed, I believe, next week. So that work got completed rather quickly, and we're pleased with the outcome. And that's it for the comments this evening.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move into our action items, and there was a report that was provided to us for an acquisition of an artwork into our art collection. So I think we're back to Elise, and you can summarize that one for us. Thanks.
Thank you. So as you recall from the last meeting, there were a number of ceramic vessels that were offered by the artist for acquisition into the collection. So I won't give you the full background on the artist Aaron Toole as I did last time, since you all are pretty familiar with him. Aaron Toole is an artist whose work raises awareness about war. In addition to clay vessels decorated with pressed molds of military medals or images of war, Toole produces monotypes on handmade paper. And here's an image of the piece. The paper used for this particular artwork was made of cotton rag and a U.S. Army multicam uniform worn by an infantryman in Afghanistan. The fabric was cut up, beaten into a pulp, and formed into sheets of paper, known as combat paper. So the paper itself is created from uniforms. From June 7th to 29th, Aaron Toole was the artist in residence at the Palo Alto Art Center. During his residency, he created hundreds of wheel-thrown ceramic vessels using imagery and objects collected from local veterans and their families. The residency program culminated in the exhibition Containers of Community, Aaron Toole, featuring hundreds of the ceramic cups and a selection of monotypes. And this is one of the pieces that was on display. The piece was produced just prior to his residency at Smith Anderson Editions and is being offered as a donation to the city's public art collection by Paula Kirkaby and is facilitated by the Palo Alto Art Center. So staff is recommending the acquisition of the artwork into the city collection.
Okay, thank you. Were there any comments or questions, discussion items from commissioners? I know I would just simply offer that this is the third time now that we've addressed the artwork of Aaron Toole, and I think we all acknowledge that he's an important artist in our community here in the Bay Area, and so I think it's a wonderful gesture, and I would certainly support the acquisition of this work. So I'll turn it to someone else for any other comments. We have a quiet group tonight, and they're all eager to get to the other items on the agenda. So I think if there's no further discussion, we can have a vote. So I would like a motion to accept the recommendation of accession of this monotype into our collection.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Sounds like we have a unanimous group. So motion carries. Thank you. Now we have another terrific piece of work to put into our collection and onto our website. Hopefully those in the audience have gone to our website to see our collection as it continues to grow. I know we've been busy, but it'll be great to get more and more of the art pieces on that database online. So we're moving into our non-action items. We've got a couple of things, and I want to move quickly into them. We actually have a project from the Percent for Private Development, which is to happen at the VMware campus. So we have a presentation tonight by Linda Marie Santiago, who's the Director of Real Estate there, as well as Bob Giannini of Form 4 Architects and Carol Dabb, Art Consultant. So do you want to take the microphone and present? Thank you for coming. Yep, and moss. That's good. We like that. We had a chance to see some of the materials in the site in advance, so we have a little bit of background, but I'm sure everyone would love to hear your remarks and go through it, and that'd be great. So welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners and city staff. This is quite an honor to be here. So I think I'm a little starstruck, I have to be honest with you. I am. I'm very excited. I'm excited primarily because it's an honor to represent VMware here tonight. I am a director in the Real Estate and Workplace Group. As everyone knows, I believe VMware's headquarters is based here in Palo Alto in the Stanford Research Park. We have an amazing campus, over 100 acres of buildings and nature and people. And we love our site. We love our campus. It's very much, it's not just a work environment, it's a home in a lot of ways. And we treat it with the stewardship that it really deserves. I'm here tonight to introduce my design team. It was Bob Giannini with Form 4, who has been our campus architect for a long time, and then Carol Dabb, who is our art consultant for this project. So I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you may have about VMware as a company. Always happy to respond to those types of inquiries. And if you don't have anything you'd like to ask me, I'm happy to turn this over to Bob and Carol.
Generally, I think if they can give a quick overview, or not even quick, it can be a thoughtful overview. And then probably Linda Marie will, what we tend to do is just sort of brainstorm ideas, suggestions, that sort of thing. Hopefully there's some energy around the site. It's a beautiful site. I've recently been out there and toured VMware with Linda Marie and a person from her staff. So anyhow, I know exactly where it's located, and I would encourage anyone to go up there and look at it too for further inspiration. But I think beyond that, we'll probably end up having a little bit of a discussion. It's a little less conducive in this kind of format than it is in the conference room, but we can make do.
Okay, great. So Bob, Carol, would one of you like to go first then?
Good evening. Again, Bob Giannini from Forum 4. Very happy to be here. And what we've done is put together a few slides just to give a little bit of a feel of the campus as we kind of have this sort of general discussion about what the where the art should go and what the art should be. So this is an image actually as you first come in. It's very near where we're proposing that the art will go. The campus is very low density, which is typical in Stanford Research Park, and it's all about sustainability. Everything there is natural grasses, and the landscape is every bit as important as the buildings. So this is an overview of the entire campus. We'll kind of zoom in on it, but we're thinking of the art right up at the main entry. And these are a couple of images, again, just to show the general character of the project. So this is the main lobby. It's just very simple shapes, kind of this floating aluminum kind of umbrella that wraps a glass lobby. This is one of the cafeterias. There's 3 cafeterias at least, major cafeterias on the campus. And it's the idea of this sort of pavilion in the woods. The whole campus is sort of thought of as the campus in the forest. This is the outside of that cafe building. And what we've done is created a few different kinds of landscapes. This one is the most unusual in that it's kind of this palm oasis that happens at the end of a long alley that goes down through the center of the campus. This is a fruit orchard that happens at one of the main alleys that goes down through the campus, and you can see some of the typical buildings that form a backdrop. But again, the real goal of the campus is to be sort of understated, very calm. Linda Marie could talk about this in great detail, but it played a lot into kind of the thinking about, you know, perhaps what the art should be and all of that as we have that discussion. This is the location that we're thinking of for the art. There's a large, this is the building that triggers the art requirement. This will be removed and replaced with a new building that will sort of complete, and actually I think it sort of completes kind of the entry sequence of the campus with the main lobby right here. This will become a new visitor briefing center, an office building. One of the larger cafeterias is right here. This is Town Square, and this is Hillview right up here. So from Hillview, you'll actually be able to look and see this particular site. There's visitor parking right over here. So there are very few places on the campus where public can go in, but you can get this far into the campus, and it's just a really prime location right at the top of what we call Town Square. In plan view, it looks like this. So here's the divided road that comes in. We're relocating some of the features that are out there now, eliminating some of the asphalt that's out there now and replacing it with landscaping and kind of cleaning up this whole, as I say, the whole entry sequence as you come into the campus. This sort of plinth that happens here is what you see when you look in from Hillview, and then there are these monumental stairs that wrap around it. and it's the overlook of the lily ponds and the double row of trees that lead you to the another fountain and then the cafe. This just points out that from this particular spot, one of the reasons we're suggesting this spot is it's so central, you can see it from all the key places. This will become the new visitor center for the campus, so anyone coming here from wherever will be able to really enjoy it and kind of experience it if we locate it in this kind of area. This shows the architecture of the new building. This would be Town Square looking up toward where the art would be, if I have that right. So these are three lily ponds that kind of lead up toward those monumental stairs that look out toward the street. This is as if you were standing on the site that we're proposing, looking back toward the cafeteria building and through the town square. And what's going on here, this is all relatively newly planted, but this will become a big canopy of double row of trees on either side with benches underneath the canopy. This is the site area that we were proposing. So this is the building that will be removed and replaced with the image of that I just showed you. This area that's asphalt right now will become the landscape area that can house the art. Right now, we're kind of excited about this because right now you come up the stairs, there's a walkway between buildings, and then you're into asphalt. What this is going to do is going to put the stairs in between two sections of landscape, so it's not sort of sitting out there in no man's land anywhere. And then the centerpiece would be this potential site for the art. And that's all the pictures we have.
I'm Carol Dabb, and I'm thrilled to be on this project with VMware. I was the art consultant for Syntex Corporation when they had this piece of property for 8 years. I placed my first public art for Syntex on this property, and after Roche bought Syntex and then Roche bought Genentech, the marble sculpture, which was an abstract version of the molecular structure for napkin, is now on the Genentech campus. But it was a very active public art program, and so I'm familiar with the campus in the old days, and very happy to do this now. The budget for this project is estimated to be $25 million. So the art budget will be $250,000, and that's inclusive of all things that you are aware of. Our process that we're proposing tonight is to, first of all, listen to your ideas. If you've been to the campus and you've seen what it's like, very anxious to hear what you might have to say. VMware is open to all kinds of media. The one thing that they have asked me is that they would prefer abstract art rather than a representational piece. But it could be a single piece. It could be several pieces that create an environment. Because they are using me, we probably won't have a public call for entries because I have a huge database and I have a lot of experience in public art. I helped the city of Mountain View start their public art program 25 years ago, and currently placed art in Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Cupertino, and looking forward to this Palo Alto project. Let's see. I have timeline is this evening. VMware has submitted the application, has paid the 50% deposit. Hopefully we will start presenting artists to VMware in November and get some decisions made in December or January, and then present to the commission again in March for the final review. so that the artist can begin fabrication. The estimated date for completion for this construction project would be late 2016. So the sculpture would go in sometime before that, because we are aware that before we can have occupancy, the art has to be installed. And I think that's all I have to say. If you have any other questions about the process or what we're going to do, please bring them forward. Thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting. So for all of those who don't know, this is a somewhat new process for the Art Commission. We've probably had maybe half a dozen by now presentations of projects, and so we too are new at doing this, but what we try to do is just encourage and support the placement of great art in our city, and are grateful to our corporations who are based here that they can participate with us and make Palo Alto even a richer place than it is in terms of cultural richness. I suppose the economics help as well, but there you go. So we do have a couple of criteria that I thought I'd reiterate just to kind of get you in the framework of what we try to think about. Number one, we look at what's appropriate for the site. We think about quality and originality, and it certainly sounds like you're also thinking that way. Some accessibility, you've already placed it in a great place, I think, off Hillview, which is a very natural entry. Some sort of engagement or interactive kind of element so people can really participate with the art, and durability, and then of course safety. So these are things we all want to think about as we provide input and encouragement. So I wonder if I feel as though I've done lots of talking tonight. I'm happy to turn the microphone over to somebody else. I, as everyone probably knows, have lots of opinions and thoughts about architecture and art, so I'll just be quiet and let someone else go, because I brought pictures tonight.
Thank you for your presentation. Carol, I have a couple of questions for you. It's quite a large budget, $250,000, which is one of the larger budgets that I've seen for public art. But can you tell me a little bit about you say you have some artists that you know that can do this type of project. And are they mainly sculptors, or you know, if you want abstract, you're looking for a wide range. And I'm a little curious about not maybe doing a limited public call for artists to do that. And with such a large budget, you can do a few pieces. You can even do a landscape part to go along with that as well. That could engage the public too. So that's the type of questions I have.
Well, as I said, I've been in business for almost 30 years now, and I work in particular with the public art pieces with professional artists. I've worked personally with mostly California artists, but certainly West Coast artists for sure, some national. So because I have all of this experience, I have a lot of sculptors, and these are professional people whose art is their profession, and they're not hobby artists or doing this as a side activity. And I don't know if that answers your question or not about how I go about looking for artists and artists to present to VMware without having a call for entries.
It does a little bit, but I'm just curious about what process it would use to select the artists that would present to VMware.
Well, first of all, I'm going to listen to what you have to say tonight and what your ideas are for what could be possible for this site. And then I would go to the resources that I have and personally select the artists that I think should be presented to VMware. And these would be many. You know, and first we can do this all electronically, and then go to the next step and have the VMware even interview artists that they'd be interested in. But let's say I might start with 10 or a dozen different kinds of artists, different kinds of things, all different kinds of media, because they aren't aware of what's out there. You know, so it could be glass, it could be steel, it could be corten, it could be stainless, it could be stone. And I want to show VMware all the possibilities for art and let them see what they like. Does that help?
Thank you again for this really nice presentation. I had the opportunity to just visit the new Mitchell Park Library, and I don't know if you've seen it yet or pictures, but out in front there are these really fun owls that I know are not abstract, but they are in a way fairly abstract forms. And the really neat thing that I didn't know about them until I saw them up close was that you could actually sit in them. And so just looking at this space, I was thinking that that could be a kind of fun idea for you, of thinking of little sculptures, whether it's like a family of owls or a family of something that you can spread across that have different uses. And so it is something that you might want to bring up to VMware and say, you know, I know you didn't want abstract works of art, or I know you did, excuse me, but this is a way that you could use very real images or imagery, but also created in a more abstract form too. So that might be something. I don't know, have you seen the owls at Mitchell Park? Okay, I don't know what you thought of them, but that I thought would be kind of that, it just would fit really nicely, it looks like, into the space. But I haven't been to the space in VMware, so you might have a different opinion, but I thought in that way it could be fun.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I just wanted to add to the description of this space that you will not see any asphalt. It will be paved with pavers, so it will be inviting to visitors and employees to come and possibly sit or engage with the sculpture or that kind of thing. It's going to be much more inviting than the picture you see up there now.
So I feel like I can't hold back anymore. I have to just jump in. One thing that I was really impressed with when I've been up to the VMware campus, and I had this tour, and this was related to my work, but what I was really impressed with was the way that the company thinks about incorporating family into the organization. So people work hard, but they also are encouraged to play hard, invite people, and so on. So kind of moving along the theme, I think, that Commissioner Taylor was raising, which is this kind of interactive and thinking about one of our criteria. Bob and I might look at the same kind of magazines. There was a recent issue of Architectural Record, which had some really inspiring art projects. And I made a few copies of a few, and just as by way of example, you know the, and please, Elise, you can help me because I never remember the name of the kind of the bird's nest thing out in front of the Art Center that's not an art commission piece, but it's the Art Center.
Patrick Doherty.
Thank you, Patrick Doherty, that piece. So it's a natural, so when I think about Bob's description of the campus in the forest, that it's a very understated and calm. I mean, there's 100 acres. I mean, it truly is a forest. So here was a suggestion of a bird's nest, you know, I mean, a sort of bird's house, right? Not the bird's nest necessarily like in China or even Patrick Doherty's, but, you know, ideas of something like that is sculptural, it takes up a lot of area, but kids could play in it, you know, so in addition to, right, there could be a way, as long as it's safe, that's just an idea. You know, thinking differently than just three-dimensional sculpture, I guess, and just a sort of something on a plinth, if you will. If we wanted to go really crazy, I mean, so again, just thinking about, everyone knows I bring up the bean whenever I can, but the idea of a temporary, you know, sort of a colorful piece, so the kind of the so this is very your abstract kind of personified here, right? That is to say that because it's understated and calm, it seems ripe for something very eye-catching, something very different, something that could really draw people there, something that we don't have in Palo Alto. So that gets me very excited. People have also heard me talk, I think, about light. And I think this one is, again, probably more understated, but thinking about what Carol said related to Core 10, this idea of a series of, people are familiar with people like Andy Goldsworthy or something, but pieces of steel, perhaps with light on them. This one is from a really interesting, it's a memorial to victims of violence in Mexico, so they etch through there, and there's ways to do, but you could imagine not just words, but imagery that could also happen. It could be lit, and it could be really exciting. And then I think the last thing I was going to share and offer, and I could have done this digitally, so I apologize, but something, if you were less inclined, something sort of more monolithic in terms of, natural materials, but sort of modern materials and sort of how they would come together. And I bring these not, to say go hire these artists per se, but to inspire you to think about just doing things that might not be, as I say, at first I was concerned there might be thankfully there's not a Mr. VMware or something that we would build a sculpture of to put up, because there's a sort of, right? It's like I said, like a sort of plinth, and you kind of think about like the Roman columns and, big celebrated bronze guy on a horse. And, I guess I think of I try to come back to the campus in the forest, the 100 acres, the clarity and the order that's there already on the campus, and maybe doing something completely unexpected, which kind of follows on your abstract, which you started with, which is a very exciting thing. So I think between the interactive, the abstract, those were sort of my suggestions, and I think I'll stop there.
Okay. So I think my suggestions would be very similar. The first thing, I was writing down a lot of the words when you were first describing, but sustainability, natural, simple, modern, understated, calm, all those things. And that, I think Doherty, I'm sorry, I don't know the names, but it is my favorite thing, the thing outside the tree twigs. Sounded really wonderful, but then also probably much smaller than the budget that you have. So it seems, again, kind of what Kathleen was saying, that you can have multiple things around the area, or something in that simple, modern, wood, stone, things that go with that. Or I was just looking up what VMware did, because I'm not in the tech world. I think I use it at work. I just didn't realize. But I always think like having meaning. So maybe, some sort of code or mathematical, like something that has, that in the art. So, if you looked at the kind of structure of it, that has that, a code kind of embedded in it, or some sort of meaning where the engineers and people like that would find that really interesting. I'm sure there are ways to do that, but yeah, sort of thinking outside the box of a big sculpture that's going to be placed right there, which is what when I read it at home, I think I saw the word sculpture in there somewhere, so I think that's maybe where you're leaning, so thinking a little outside that. But the buildings are really beautiful, so it seems, and the orchard, all of that's just so gorgeous there, so I think something will look really nice. And a great location, too, it looks like that. It is accessible. That's always a concern of the committee, so thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. The buildings are beautiful, and the campus is amazing, and it just looks very grown up and organic already. And then that we don't even need to really talk about the site, because you've found like this plum spot for the arts, so we're there. I guess I'm not going to say anything much different than my colleagues. We as the Art Commission are really, I guess, never looking for sculpture on plinth in spot. And so we would just encourage as much as possible that it have be a little bit more interesting than that. And I feel like that interactive word, that engagement word, it really means different things to different people. There's the engagement that is like the physical, tactile, but then there's also the engagement of the senses and just this aesthetic experience. My inclination is the architecture is stunning, and it's glass, and it's elegant, and it's beautiful. But even more is the landscape. And I feel like we're so fortunate to have the weather and the climate that we are, that something that involves the landscape, that somehow is site-specific to natural materials within that whole setting, it would fit far more and could have these engagement with children or with engineers, or it's almost like it's not immediately noticeable. It's like maybe you have to look a little bit more. It's a little bit more intelligent, but not in a tack-on intelligent way. And I too try to figure out what VMware does. I think I'm just pencil and paper person, but it just seems like there's this whole virtual thing. So it's like maybe these like overall themes of what the business does or what the business could inform the art. And then we just hope that you will, with that budget, would really, think outside of the box in terms of somebody who could really come and elevate. So yeah, and yeah, thanks.
I just wanted to add one other comment/question. Have you thought about using the steps at all as the canvas itself? Because I'm thinking, we were talking a while back about some neat projects we've seen of different artists using steps like a keyboard of a piano, and so you step on each step and they make noises, or lights. I'm even thinking of like mosaic tiles, but that could be something too. It could kind of start from the beginning, from the bottom of the stairs, go all the way up, and then you have a larger piece on top. Or you can just leave the steps as a blank canvas and kind of add things in a tactfully nice way as a work of art. So I'm not sure if that was something that you thought about, but it might be something to consider.
Yes, Lincoln Center has something like that in the stairs, kind of embedded. I think it's a Jenny Holzer maybe, or Barbara Kruger, or somebody like that. And that's a great idea, and also gives you back some land to do more landscape form and benches and so on. So I think, yeah, there's some pretty exciting. I was suddenly thinking about mirrors. I guess I had recently been looking at something, is it Doug Aitken, that did at the Seattle Art Museum, and basically had like a mirror or a kind of video wall. And you could imagine the notion of thinking about VMware and I guess sort of how technology, oftentimes we can't, it is a bit amorphous, and so the idea that it's sort of there but not there, I was thinking about mirrors and how it sort of goes away. So anyway, I think we've come up with some good different ideas. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I had one more thing I had forgotten that you reminded me. We're talking about multiple things. You mentioned benches that will go in that might not be there.
The benches that are on the town square.
Oh, they're already there. I was thinking the benches could be part of the artwork. You could have so if you were, because like we said, the large budget, so if you're, because I think a lot of people are saying sort of as you see things as you come up, so there'd be, really nice benches that you get to sit on interactive. So another thought for art.
I agree with everybody's comments. The only thing I want to say is that they're suggestions, and we don't want to focus anybody on one part. And I think the artists should go out to that site, and whatever they feel for that project is what they should do. And when it's presented to us, I want it to be the wow factor that we say, wow, that's really good. And we want, that'd be a great addition to the art. So suggestions, but let the artists really, what they feel for that site, let them really come up with the project.
And I think I'd close by just saying, oh, sorry, Linda Marie, I'll let you go, was just that this is going to be, I think, the first piece in the Stanford Research Park from the private Percent for Art. And so you get an opportunity to be the first, because I think it'll be the first out of the ground with that date. So that would be pretty exciting, and it will be the first there, and so that would be a good thing to. Oh, I'm sorry, Council.
It's a great opportunity. I appreciate the comments of the commission. And I did have one thing that I wanted to ask about, though, and it hasn't come up, is how far is it from Hillview to this platform, I guess you could call it, where the art would be?
We should know that.
It's at least probably, half a mile, I would say. You kind of have to.
No.
No, from Hillview, no, I'm thinking as you come off of Foothill, you kind of go up and then come back down. So from Hillview, it's only, 100 yards or something maybe.
So I guess my question is it's public art. How does the public know that the art is approachable by them? So what leads the public to know that they can go sit, touch, interact, any of that? And so it's not something that came up, but whatever that invitation is could be a part of the art or something compatible with the art itself. But the public needs to know that it can go see it, right? And so that's my thought and comment. And something else that just comes up, it just keeps coming up, because I love the, I don't know, I couldn't tell quite really how far it is from that to your plantings, your rows of trees that are just like beautiful. But I keep thinking of Thorn Crown Chapel, if anybody knows Thorn Crown Chapel. Google it. It's a building in the woods or outside of Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And it was deemed one of the most 100 important buildings in 20th century architecture by the National AIA. Right. So, and it's, so you know it.
Friday is the architect, right?
That doesn't sound right. It'll come to me. But what made me think of it is because it's very open and, see-through, and it's a building without being a building that's in the woods. So anyway,
right, I know the project, right?
Yes, it may mean nothing, but I did want to point out, though, that people need to know that they have to be able to approach the art.
And I guess I do think that is a challenge. I was saying to one of our commissioners earlier, which is the private work in a private corporation, even if it's public art, there's a very interesting tension, because we want it publicly accessible, but they also have a private campus and there are private areas. So I think it is an important thing to remind ourselves of how do we identify these, and the corporation will own the piece, they will maintain the piece. And so it just, I think how much we market it and, how much we promote it, I think is something we'll probably need to kind of continue to investigate, and it will unfold.
It is a good tension. I mean, there is a tension there. I was thinking, though, that you'd said that this is the part of the campus that the public can come onto. So that's what I was referring to.
It's adjacent to their parking area where visitors would go to check in. So it is visible right where they enter the campus there.
Did you have any other last comments, Linda Marie? I'm sorry if I shut you.
And I apologize here.
no.
Bob and I think this is really important, and I don't want to miss it. Yeah, we talk a lot. I think this is really important in our selection process, hearing your feedback and your comments about what you envision and things that we need to consider or should be considering. Really appreciate that. We are an open book and an open slate right now for this amazing piece that really is going to define in a lot of ways our campus, so we don't take that lightly. But one of the things I wanted to mention to you is, and this is going to be very key to us in the selection process of the artist and ultimately the art, is what our company stands for. So little Cliff Note version of what VMware does, just 3 sentences, virtualization software. And what that means, I'll give you a really dumbed down version, only because I need it, is it lets a computer server run multiple operating systems. Usually it's one server, one operating system. So what it allows people or companies and IT departments to do is buy fewer servers because they can run multiple operating systems. So it reduces the footprint of lots of buildings and space that people use to compute. So when you think about what that can revolutionize, it already is. The footprints are made smaller in many corporations by virtue of the software that we create. So when we think about art, there really does need to be a little bit of a tie-in. So one of you mentioned, I apologize, I don't remember whom, about that virtualization, what it means, and the abstract thinking around what it means. Virtualization, God, how do you define that in art? I don't know, but we do want to think about that, and I'm really glad to hear one of you say that. But I think equally and probably more important is what our company stands for. Everything about our organization is built around our EPIC 2 values, We spell that EPIC and the number 2. And it permeates all of the work we do, the culture we live by and have created there. And that stands for execution, passion, integrity, community, and the 2 is around customers. So when we look at the things that we do on campus, they have to tie into our values, whether it's building a building, whether it's a new policy, what's a new type of software. Our EPIC 2 values are really important to what we do. Our executive staff make sure that we are living and breathing and instilling those values in what we do. So when we think about this art, it's a little hard to figure out how do we do that through art. We don't know yet, and that's why hearing the feedback is great. There are a couple things that are going to be really important to us, and that will be one of them. So I wanted to share that with you to let you know that we're really thinking about this. So
Thank you very much, and we look forward to having you return, and good luck with your process, and thank you. Okay, we're going to move to item number 3, which is our 180 El Camino Real, otherwise affectionately known as the Stanford Shopping Center. So we had previously had Chandra Sharito come and present with us, or to us rather, with the architect and the property owner, I guess ground lessor, I should say. And this is an update, informational update, because I know they already had selected a few sites where they would integrate some art. I did happen to go into the Bloomingdale's, the new Bloomingdale's, and it's fabulous. So well done, good architecture, very nice layout.
Can't take any credit for that.
Yeah. Anyhow, but I know that was kind of an area of one of the sort of one side and the other side of a couple of the sites. So welcome, Chandra. You want to give us a little update?
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be back, and I'm glad it hasn't been so long. So hopefully you kind of remember some of our last presentation, but I did do a short recap to bring it back. So as Kathleen said, we are here to just kind of check in and tell you where we're at. We've, at this point, basically have selected the 2 artists that we would like to work with. And I'm here tonight to kind of introduce you to some of their past work, just to give you a little glimpse as to where we might be headed, but we have not even started. So literally yesterday, we all met at the site. So the 2 artists, who are Brad Howe from Southern California, and Daniel Goldstein, who's from San Francisco, met myself and representatives from Simon Property Group, as well as the architect. And we walked the site. Prior to that, they had digital packages. And so we walked the site and really took note of what's there now, what will be changing, any kind of issues that for them to kind of grapple with and for them to think about. So we have not even started in terms of design, and hopefully we will see you again in January when we're at that point. That's our goal. We're not really under the gun, but that seemed like the comfortable time frame for us to come back. And to get to this point, since Mr. Miyagi had asked about process of selection, I thought I would share with you how we got to this point. So after you had seen us, we had already at that point been looking at a number of artists. I think we looked in the realm of 25 to 30 artists. We interviewed 5 of them, and through that interview process ended up where we are. So let me just begin by doing a little bit of an overview again of the artwork plan that we presented to you last time. So we were focusing on 3 significant areas where we were hoping we could do some substantial artworks that would really sort of be memorable and very identifiable, and would complement the many smaller artworks that are already on the site. So doing something of a larger scale. So our first, number 1, is what will become a major entry to the shopping center, which is off of El Camino Real, basically where the shopping center drive tees into the shopping center. So be one of the first things that you will see as you enter. And the area number 2 is basically at the center of the project. There are several sort of gathering areas that they call pavilions. This one, which is called Center Court, is the largest and basically the most central. And it has events that happen there and is a gathering place. And we'll look at some images of that. And site number 3 is along Loop Road, right next to the new building of Bloomingdale's, but also at the basically the point that you would see as you're approaching from Caltrans. So it's a great sort of access point for a pedestrian who's approaching. So we'll quickly go through those sites. So here we are at number 1, that main entry, and there's photograph on the left is pretty much its current state. The rendering on its right is future state, and overly dramatic sculptures that are too large for the site. So I'm not responsible for that part. But just to show you that art is definitely considered a really important part of this entryway. And, you know, we were, as I said last time, we were thinking about freestanding work, and it could be one sort of substantial size piece or 2 that sort of flank, or perhaps something that's lower and maybe more ambling along more of a horizontal, which might be kind of interesting. We definitely imagine it illuminated at night, and we're hoping that it does kind of create that sense of arrival and become something iconic. I'm going to skip over site 2, I'm going to go to site 3, and the reason is the artist Brad Howe has been selected for both of these sites, so I wanted to kind of talk about them both at the same time. So site number 3 being that point at the axis of the approach from Caltrans, right next to the new Bloomingdale's building. You would see it from Loop Road as you're circling around the building and maybe heading into the parking lot. You'd also see it if you parked in that parking garage and then walked out of your car to enter the shopping center. On the plan, if you look to the left of the orange dot, there's a building on the corner, and that is is intended to be a restaurant of some sort. So there'll be outdoor seating. So that's another really nice aspect to having artwork there, is that hopefully people will be hanging out and could spend some time with it. So again, looking at this piece, it will be seen from both cars and pedestrians, sort of like a beacon, sort of like this is where you can enter into this shopping center and kind of draw you from the train. So Brad Howe is the artist who was selected for both of those, and he's done many projects, mostly public art, I'd say is his strength, but he's also done numerous solo exhibitions and gallery exhibitions. His studio and residence is in Malibu, California, and he primarily just fabricates all of his work in his studio. He has studio assistants to help him. He was actually educated at Stanford University, which was one of the reasons that he was excited about being on this project. It's sort of like coming back to his alma mater. And he also went to the University of Sao Paulo in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He has work in over 80 public and corporate collections. Nationally, he's in collections in California, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Nebraska, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Texas. And internationally, he has commissions in Brazil, Germany, Hong Kong, Japan, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Singapore, and South Korea. So we really are honored to have him be able to work with us on this project. I did, created a short list of some of his exciting projects. It's really hard to kind of encapsulate somebody who's as prolific as this and has such experience. But MIT and Cambridge, MGM Grand Airlines at JFK Airport, various hotels and banks and corporations, Neiman Marcus. The list is quite impressive. And he is in museum collections as well, so the Crocker Art Museum in Sacramento, the Lancaster Museum of Art and History in Lancaster, the Pasadena Museum of California Art, and the Contemporary Museum in Honolulu. And he's had over 50 solo exhibitions internationally since 1986. He's a very busy guy. He's full of energy, and I think his work is full of energy, and that I think is one of the things that was so attractive to Simon Property Groups and why they could see it was such a good match for this kind of active, very vibrant space that is, hopefully going to be artwork that can be really accessible and kind of engaging, as you had been talking about. And it has a dynamic quality. There's often sort of a play with a sense of balance or off balance, and almost a sense that things are still in motion. So those are some of the themes. I think he's definitely influenced and inspired by modernism, minimalism, and pop art, and kind of plays to different degrees with these and in various works. Almost all of his works could be interpreted as completely abstract, but they're often derived from natural forms, and they're just abstracted to a point that they're very original. And he's mainly working in metal, stainless steel, and aluminum, both of which are highly durable outdoors, great for all kinds of weather conditions. And if he uses color, which he does so well, he uses some of the most durable paints there are, polyurethanes that are used for car paints. And I did pose to Simon that even the best car paints at some point, 50 years from now, may need a little revamp, and they said we're completely on board for that. Art is important to us, and we'll be taking care of it. So these are just a few examples, and the image on the top left was a commission that I did for a place in Germany, and it turns out it's one of the most photographed places in the town, and partly because the parents want their kids to kind of look through the circle and then take a picture of them like surrounded by the donut. So these kind of, I think he just has a knack for form and for doing things that have a little bit of a playfulness to them while also being sophisticated. He also often uses a brushed surface on his aluminum. You can see that on the sculpture on the right more clearly, and that has a really nice play with light. So it's changing all the time during the day. If it were a night and a car were driving by, it would kind of sparkle off of that surface. And it does reflect the colors around it. So there's a real active quality to his work. So I'll go to site number 2, so the center court. So this is that really interesting space. I mean, it's got sort of now, it really needs a revamp. It's definitely stuck in the 80s. But there are definitely going to be some improvements, and I think art will be one of the most dramatic things that is added to this space. So here is, again, a place where the Stanford Shopping Center hosts major events. When we did our walkthrough yesterday, there were all these glass pumpkins that were set up in the middle, and I think that's an annual thing. They do a Santa display, so there needs to be a lot of flexibility and allowing for space on the ground. So naturally, we thought about doing something suspended, which would also be wonderful because of the glass atrium above. So we're really excited to be working with Daniel Goldstein, whose work I've actually known for quite a while, but I haven't worked with myself. And Daniel is based in San Francisco. He was educated in Brandeis University as well as UC Santa Cruz, and then he went on for graduate studies at San Francisco State and St. Martin's in London. He has work in over 25 public and corporate collections. These include the City of Reston, Virginia, Newcastle County Library in Delaware, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in China, the Hilton Hotels in Osaka, Japan, Saks Fifth Avenue, Colma Station BART, and various Kaiser hospitals. He's actually done quite a lot of work in hospitals. He really enjoys kind of providing something very uplifting for people in a situation like that. He's a founding president of a really wonderful organization called Visual Aid. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it, but it's a pretty significant nonprofit in San Francisco that supports artists with life-threatening illnesses. And so he was the founding member of that. So he's a very sort of tuned in and community-oriented person. His artwork is in some museum collections, including the Fine Arts Museum of San Francisco, the Oakland Museum, the Art Institute of Chicago, the Brooklyn Museum of Art, and the Durban Museum of South Africa. He exhibits a variety of work. For his studio work, he does wood block prints and collages as well as sculptures, and he's shown in galleries throughout the U.S. and the rest of the world. And he's had approximately 20 solo exhibitions since 1977, so he's been working for quite a while, and over 35 group exhibitions since then. So on the left are a couple examples of his work, which are quite representative in terms of material as well as form. He's currently mostly, if not entirely, working in anodized aluminum. He does many, many suspended pieces, and so he was a natural person that we wanted to look at. Anodized aluminum has great advantages for what he's doing. First, it's very lightweight. So we're dealing with an existing structure. We're not really going to go back in and like add I-beams. So his work will have no problem in terms of hanging on the existing structure. In addition to that, he can add color the way that Brad uses it. Anodizing metal is a really great way to have a permanent coating of color that is highly durable in the outdoors. The only time it's not really applicable is when it can be down low to the ground and be scratched. In that case, it's hard to repair, but in our case, it's going to be above heads, and that won't be able to happen. So we're very excited about that. Formally, I think you might already notice one thing he's attracted to is using a multiplicity of repeated forms that coalesce into a larger piece. So that kind of creates sometimes this kind of airy, more atmospheric feeling, and then other times a sort of more concentrated form, but often also, like Brad, having a sense of energy, a dynamism, a sense of movement. And there's also a literal movement when picked up by the wind, which would be the case here. Many of his installations have been indoors. He's done outdoor work, but not always the suspended pieces. So this is kind of an interesting challenge for him to certainly incorporate the wind, but also keep it in check, because it can't kind of move the pieces so much that they're clanging against each other or tangling or any of that. So it'll be really kind of an interesting challenge for him and something he's looking forward to addressing. So I think that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Good job. Looks like we're going to have some great new work. And remind us, so you come back in January potentially, but is that just prior to installation, or would it be, no, it'd be some years later, isn't it?
Oh, I'll give you a sense of timeline. So January, we hope both artists will be ready to come back here and present to you themselves, their proposals. Mm-hmm. And then we discovered yesterday, actually at the site visit, that we had originally intended the installations to be around December of 2015, basically a year after you would see us. But we realized December is holiday time in a shopping center, which does not really mesh well with a big art installation, particularly when the Santa display is under the suspended piece. So we realized we'll probably need to install that suspended work in October. Daniel feels like he would have time, if all goes well, to aim for that. And if he misses the mark, then we could always do it in January. Now with Brad's pieces, he might be ready, but we realize there are some construction issues with his, so he'll actually need to kind of hold off until the spring of 2016. Because some of those buildings that are, right now it's still the old buildings, there'll be some new buildings going up, and they're really close to where his art's gonna go. So it doesn't make sense to rush it.
Right, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought they were a little bit off, but that's not too far, so we can certainly wait. Did anybody have any other comments or questions? I think short of that, it was just a kind of presentation and update, and thank you very much for coming, and congratulations. And
thank you. Well,
I'll just add one thing. I really like the selections that you made.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I was really pleased, and I hadn't heard of the artist. I probably have seen the artist's work before, but I really like them, and I think they're going to be really fun additions.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm looking forward to their proposals.
Great. Well, I'm really happy to be working with both of them, and for me, the most important thing is finding the right artist, and I really feel like we found the right artist, and trust that they're going to do some really wonderful things, and looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you. So we have, moving to item number 4, and it is a school night, so we have a couple of speakers that I wanted to quickly get up. I should have had the presence of mind to change the order of our agenda at the beginning, and I didn't, so I apologize. But here we are. I'd like to ask Sam Hirschman, Julia Hirschman, and Harry Hirschman to please come forward and offer your comments to item number 4, which is our temporary public art piece called Aurora. It's an update that we have on the work of art that's been in our plaza for a year now. Almost a year? It feels like a year. Please, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Okay, and we wanted to say thanks for a great year. It's we've had tremendous fun, you know, a couple times a week, however often we get there, being at the tree, watching people watch the tree. It's been really neat showing them how to use the interactivity, telling them the story behind Aurora, and it's been an amazing experience for all the kids that were involved, and I think for everybody that sees it, they really enjoy it. So we're here because we would love to see it stay for at least another year, however long you can, ultimately flexible on whatever you guys want to do. And the artist himself, he'll be here when it's an action item on the agenda, but he wanted us to convey to you as well that he will continue to be his normal, awesome, flexible self and easy to work with and whatever you guys want to do. And the kids wanted to say a few things too.
Thank you so much for letting us have Aurora here for a year. It's really been awesome and really fun. So it's been really fun also just meeting new people that we see near Aurora at night. And it's been really fun because we've been making like new friends and showing them like how to do stuff on Aurora, and thank you.
Well, Julia summarized most of that up for me, but like Julia said, thank you very much for letting us do this experience.
And we like I said, we're speaking on behalf of the other 20 Aurora kids that spent 2 years putting this up. So it's been amazing, and we appreciate it. And you know, one of them, as a parent, one of the things I appreciate the most is that you actually took the kids seriously. It would have been easy to laugh them off, but the staff, commission, everybody here at the city, they came into multiple meetings, multiple different topics, and they had a great idea, and the idea carried the day. They looked at the idea and not the messenger, and that speaks very well for our city. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Can I say something quickly?
So I think there's just a.
Can't talk?
Not. I guess Elise, can commissioners have a discussion about this, or are we gonna? Because I guess we're not. It's just.
You can. I was just going to give a really brief update, just
yeah.
to kick off a little of the conversation. Just keep in mind, this is not an action item this evening, so we're not asking for any sort of decision from the commission. I just wanted to update you on the status of the installation of Aurora and King Plaza. The permit for the installation expires in mid-November. As you've just heard, the artist would like to request an extension of the permit for the installation. Staff is in discussions with the artist regarding the implications for the extension of the permit, including maintenance funds and availability of the artist to remove the artwork. I wanted to make the commissioners aware of the request that may come back as an action item in the next month, and to give you a chance to ask staff to gather any pertinent information you may need or address any concerns you may have regarding the matter.
Go for it.
Oh, they weren't questions. I just wanted to say thank you to them because I think it's such a beautiful installation, and just that I've had a family visiting this month and I always take them to see it. So we're spreading the word. But I don't know. I mean, I guess you'll like budget and all those things because none of that's on our current budget. So that'd be nice.
That's right. In fact, I was going to just mention it was a former commissioner, Trish Collins, who I think worked very closely with the Hirschmans. And so you might not all have that history and background if it predated your time here. But so it would be useful to have kind of all that backstory, I think, if you don't mind providing that, and then exactly what it would require. And then it sounds terrific. I know I have certainly personally heard many people in the community, people that just stop and think, oh, what's that? And then they kind of move forward to it and interact with it. And so that's exactly what we talk about when we talk about interactive. And so thank you very much for coming tonight. And we look forward to seeing the artist and all of you probably next month.
I have a question. So, Elise, I'm wondering if the permit is expiring the middle of next month, but we're not meeting until the 20th of the month, would we then be looking at a special meeting to determine this, or?
The few days, it's fine.
okay.
I believe in the contract, there's like a 30, I mean, we'll work that out, don't worry.
Okay. And can I just have a few minutes? So family Hirschman, thank you guys so much. Aurora's not everyone's cup of tea aesthetically. I'll just say that for the, but what I will say is aside from how you feel about the art, I am so happy that you have exercised civic responsibility as a citizen of this city to show how something like this can be done. And I would only say, not to be like unpopular person up here, but what's next? This is temporary. So I'm quite inclined, it isn't, it's like one of those decisions, leave it, not a big implication to do so, keep it, not a, it's like kind of like one of those, pros and cons equal on both sides. But I would say we really do want to build a great tradition of temporary art in the city. New things that get people excited. So start looking for what's going to go there next. And we aren't deciding anything now, but yeah, I would just encourage the broadening of the horizon, and also that people become aware that they can bring ideas. And this is one way that we can also expand public art's impact on the city. I think it's much more meaningful when it comes from people that live here and ideas that come up. So I'm encouraging you. Okay, thanks.
What's next, Julie? She's not sure what's next, although she does have lots of ideas at home. The one thing, just a seed to plant, is that if you did want to make this part of Palo Alto's collection, wherever it resides, however it is, that the artist is flexible if you wanted to acquire the piece or lease it further or whatever it is, terms, everything's on the table. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So we're on to item number 5, which is the update on our public art master plan process and the receipt of our proposals from possible consultants to work with. At least that's you.
I'm working on it. The public art master plan call resulted in 6 proposals. The selection panel will review the proposals and independently score them within the next 2 weeks. The 2 or 3 highest scoring proposers will then be invited to interview with the selection panel, targeting a mid-November interview date to select the final master planner. So the hope is, if everything goes swimmingly, that we will have a result to bring to the commission at the November meeting. So we are moving full steam ahead. I'm very excited.
Perfect. Okay. I think I didn't check in with my fellow commissioners on item number 6 on the subcommittee reports, but I can say that I don't believe we have anything on governance. Because Jim is not here, I don't believe we have any updates on innovation. Outreach, was there anything exciting to report? And then
I
ad
had
hoc.
something for outreach.
Oh, thank you.
I think we're all in the committee. I still forget which one I'm on, but being home all the time now, I started posting things that they're sending out to Nextdoor, which for me, I think I can hit 10 neighborhoods, and I meant to look up how many people that is, and I'll send that to you. So I posted the thing with a video of the murals and Greg Brown, and a couple people commented. One was a friend of his, someone who didn't. What did you? Oh, you commented too? Oh, I didn't even realize. And someone asked where something was, so that's good. Well, it got spread. I didn't look at the names, but I thought that was good. So I just took what you put and, because the video is really nice. And then I posted the event yesterday, post it at the day of the event. So I'll work harder to do it earlier, but I want to encourage everyone, if you're on Nextdoor, if you're not, it's really amazing. But I think it's a good way to hit, I mean, my neighborhood's 800 houses, maybe at least 5 or 6 around it, so times 10, it's hitting a lot of people if they're actually seeing it, so.
I just wanted to say I saw it and I commented, and the comments that you got, people were really, woohoo!
Yeah.
So good to hear that. That's great. People that didn't even know, Greg, they were like, great, thanks for the update. So it was all very positive.
Yeah, so I'm putting them all like tagged public art in the beginning. I wrote, I'm a public art commissioner. I'll be posting frequent updates, And so basically I'm going to try to take things from your newsletter or almost copy and paste the whole newsletter and put them in. So yeah, oh, that's funny. I'll go back and look.
Nextdoor is our new outreach communication tool. It's awesome. Great. No, it's good. Okay, and then ad hoc, I don't think we had any updates per se on that. So moving into the collection review, which is our item number 7. At some point, I should turn this over to some other people to do and select, but I had gone in and I actually was going to ask if you wouldn't mind looking at it's called mixed media, I think, because I was looking for multimedia. As it turns out, we only have about 5 pieces in the database, I think, under mixed media, and they all tend to be of this variety. So I thought maybe if at least you knew anything about these works, these are particularly mixed media. As I said, they weren't multimedia, which is what I went looking for, or lighting, which we didn't have anything of the sort. So did you have any backstory on any of these works, or not necessarily?
Ooh, you're really testing my eyes.
I know.
So I believe the one on the upper left is one of the youth art.
And you can click through all of them and just kind of give us a highlight, because I looked at all of them, and so here you go. There was, this one, Purchase Award.
Yes, so
I kind of wondered what that was all about. I didn't really even know what that was.
Right, so sorry. This was a piece, every year there's the Youth Art Awards that are put together by Palo, by the Unified School District. And the commission used to, we've gone through different periods of awarding or recognizing some of the student artists, but it used to be that the commission would purchase an item or two from the show. And so this was, and let's see, what's the year on that one? 2007. So I believe that's probably the last year that they did that. But this is one of the youth art purchases, and it was hanging in the meeting room in the art center until maybe 6 months ago. And so then if we go back out to the search, we can go to Nora Raggio's piece, which actually does have a full description, but I can't read it from here.
It's all right, I can't read it from here.
This was a piece that just came into the collection fairly recently. So Nora Raggio was one of our Coverly artists. Okay. And so this was a piece that she created. I don't know if anyone can read the description because I don't want to get it wrong, but essentially it was a mapping project that she digitized a map, and you can see it's a doubled image. Dara, could you read it? Yeah. You looked like you could read it.
So
she has young eyes.
Said, I can't read the first word, but Esposcada Roja, Red Ambush, investigates the abstraction and encoding into a pattern using a specific map and territory as the starting found object. The work starts off with a map of Tijuana, Mexico. Using digital fibers, information is abstracted. Then working with symmetries, the artist contrasts, I've never heard that word, what can often be interpreted as a pre-conquest codex or tapestry, a mandala, or even a Rorschach test that has been highlighted in certain areas to accentuate a complex repeating pattern. Raggio accentuates the symmetrical bordering and coexistence between two vast territories that have played a key role in the immigration and cultural politics of the concept of nation states.
Great, thank you. So that was Nora Raggio's piece, and then next to it was a piece, Julia Nelson-Gall, who is also a Coverly artist. This was a piece that was created in 2007, but I believe it was accessioned much later than that, 2011, Nadia's telling me, because she's been steeped in this database. So Julie Nelson Gall has quite a bit of this work that is a collage. So if you look carefully at the piece, and I don't believe we have any details of it loaded, we just have the overall, but there are photographs behind it. So it's a collage of photographs and resin and acrylic paint. That's what you see there. And then there's a description there. Again, I can't read it. I don't know if Dara feels like.
She's So Lovely Too by mixed media artist Julia Nelson Gall is one of few works in the Just Passing Through series. This series was born out of old photographs and a fascination with pictures of people who are no longer alive. The work celebrates the beauty of these old portraits and also new life to objects that have been casually discarded. The pieces reflect on the seemingly infinite cycle of human life and the fugitive quality of a life that can be surpassed by a photograph.
Right, thank you. And then this one, I really don't, I know we have quite a few pieces in the collection by Morales. And I see this is one we don't have a write-up of. I don't know the history of this piece in particular. White grid. And this one I don't have any information on. This, what is it, 1976? 76. So this is one of the oldest pieces in the collection.
And I know we have 2 artworks by this artist. So this is one of the 2 artworks by Nance O'Brien in our collection.
Okay, well, I think my point in looking at this week was, as I sort of mentioned, was just sometimes you see what's there and sometimes you see what's not there. So it seems to me it'd be great if we can create the depth of the collection even in different media. So that was kind of my point. Unless there's anything further on that item, I guess we'll just...
Excuse me, Kathleen, can I just add one thing? So I attended the meeting for the Mitchell Park opening, and I know Elise was, I think we're gonna have a table there, right, for the Art Commission? Are we gonna?
As far as I know, the commissions aren't having tables.
Oh, we are, okay.
At the event, but we are doing public art tours.
Okay, so I don't know, they said they had some friends tables, so I wasn't sure if we were a friend. But I was just wondering, I don't know if there's something that we want to do or a way to have some of the art in this collection that we all like or that we found interesting that most people probably wouldn't know existed, and as a way to highlight it, it might be an interesting idea. I don't know if we'll have time or any, but just wanted to point that out because I have never seen these before.
Yeah, no.
So they're interesting. So.
There was, I think at one point we were doing like a bookmark or something that maybe had the collection or at least the website or something like that on it, right?
So we have a designer who's working on a series of several postcards and bookmarks that would have information about the artworks that are within Mitchell Park and the new Library and Community Center in particular. And we'll have the public art website on there so that people can go there and access the collection.
So at least we'll reach the community that way because it is celebrating Mitchell Park. But yeah, okay. Moving on to announcements. Do you have
a quick announcement?
Okay.
The Giants are going to the World Series.
Did they win? I wondered. I didn't want to look at my phone.
My God.
I can't believe they were losing when we started this meeting. It was 3-2 they were losing. Oh my gosh, those guys.
The team that could, right?
No, he's going to the World Series.
My phone died just before the announcement, so I found the score out.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Wow, they just really came back roaring. Way to go, Giants. Woo. Okay, that was one announcement. Anything related to the Art Commission, anyone? Do you have anything, Elise? I don't actually have anything. I mean, we have the coming up, the November 15th. We've got, that's the next one, right?
And there was the invitation, hopefully you all received the invitation from the Art Center Foundation about the Windover tour. So I think that filled it pretty quickly, and they were investigating adding a second potential date.
Which they did. They got that out today.
They did.
Oh, they got it out today. Okay,
Yes.
so the November 7th, it's still that date?
Yes. And Joe Oliveira is there as a guest.
So he will also be leading the tour that,
Yeah,
okay,
yep,
so
yep.
that's great. I just wanted to make sure that that was on everyone's
I'm
radar.
going, I RSVP today to that.
Yeah, it's
So
a
for the
really
7th?
The second one, yeah.
incredible
Is anyone going
place
second?
and beautiful art. It's really amazing. You'll all
So
enjoy
I
it.
believe I'm going to go on the 7th as well. So, you know, any of you that want to come, I'd be more than happy to go do that with you. I always find it really fun to go with the commissioners to these kinds of events. What else do we
The
have?
15th is the library, the evening of the Art Center and the library.
Right, so it's
And-
Art Center Foundation members, library donors, and public art commissioners, and we will have Jerome Kirk there and be screening the film that premiered at the Mill Valley Film Festival. So that's exciting.
And then our next meeting is the 20th, so if that was the 7th, the 15th, the 20th, I think those are our kind of main things coming up in the next month, seeing as that's a month away.
And there is one event I need to forward you the invitation to. I believe it's on October 30th. So I'll send that to you. I think it's a lunchtime event at Lucy Stern.
Oh.
So.
An art-related lecture or something?
It's a fundraising related event. If you remember last year, the Division of Arts and Sciences put on a series of events having to do with fundraising for our boards and commissions. And so it's an event related to that series.
All right. Unless anyone has any other announcements or calendar items, I will officially adjourn our meeting at 8:34. Thank you, everyone.